Hello everybody, it's jrobi. Today we're going to be looking at a chess trap in the Sicilian, in particular the Sozin variation. And it's called the Magnus Smith Trap, and it was coined after three-time Canadian chess champion Magnus Smith. And it's an interesting trap, and it's had some grandmasters look into it and provide variations and actually use it in certain positions. In particular, Bobby Fischer took a fairly good look at it, and it's cited in his 60 Most Memorable Games book. So it's a trap that definitely has possibilities. So if you can see the lines that we go through opening up in your own games, in particular blitz games, definitely give it a shot and let me know how it goes. But basically, as you can see here, so far we're into the Mainline Sicilian, and we're going to continue that for a few moves. So white's going to play pawn to d4, black takes, white captures back with the knight, and black plays now knight to f6, and white plays knight to c3. And after black plays knight to c6, getting into the classical variation of the Sicilian, white's now going to play bishop to c4, and this is called the Sozin variation. Now, basically what the bishop is doing is it's carving a nice diagonal onto that pawn on f7. And the most logical move here for black in this position is to play pawn to e6. Now, pawn to e6 simply blocks off this diagonal, but that's not always the case. Black won't always make that move. Sometimes the black player will play pawn to g6, and now the thinking behind this move is to fianchetto that dark square bishop of black's and get it on this nice diagonal with these white knights lined up beautifully without much support. And if black decides to fianchetto that bishop and go down those lines, white can now get into the mainline Magnus Smith Trap. And the move order that follows to get into the trap is knight captures on c6. And once black captures back, you'll notice that black, first of all, has a very nice pawn island here that it can use to create a very nice center. But white has a little trick up its sleeve in this position, and that's by moving pawn now to e5. And black has a couple options. It can either capture the pawn or move the knight. And we're going to look at both. So let's say that black is playing somewhat positionally here and decides to save the knight and moves the knight to h5. Now this is the line that Bobby Fischer looked at, and Fischer came up with a couple options here for white that still leads to some big problems for black. And the first move is queen to f3, and as you can see here, this creates a very nice double attack on the f7 pawn. And from here, black will most likely play pawn now to e6, blocking that bishop's influence on the f7 square. And Fischer recommends playing pawn now to g4. So black has to save the knight yet again, and really the only square that the knight can go to now is to g7. So you can already see that black's position is getting a little bit cramped. Now Fischer plays, or recommends I should say, playing knight to e4 in this position. Now, knight to e4 does threaten a check here on f6, but really this move is more to bait the black queen out. And there's a reason why the queen is going to be baited out, and that's this little pawn here on e5 and this very nice diagonal leading down here. And we'll see how that plays out. So black can now come in with the check, and white, the best white reply here is to block with the bishop. Now black comes in and takes that free pawn, thinking that it's got a very nice lined attack here on b2, which it does. It does have a very nice attack on b2, because as you'll notice, the bishop is no longer protecting b2. But unfortunately for black, if they didn't think about it long enough, and this will most likely come in blitz games, white can simply play now bishop to c3, and there is no escape square. Black is going to lose its queen in this position, because this bishop here is carving a nice diagonal blocking this square. This bishop is taking this square and this square. The knight's protecting here. Pawn is protecting here and here. And the knight's got this square, and of course this square is protected by both the knight and the queen. So the black queen is just going to fall in this position. So it's a very nice trap in that sense. But let's go back now to the move e5. So let's say that black doesn't opt to move the knight and instead gets greedy yet again for material and captures the pawn on e5. Well, this is where the trap really comes into effect right away, because after bishop comes in and lands a check, you'll notice a couple things. First of all, the white queen is securing the d file, so this king cannot access d7. Furthermore, the black pieces are blocking its own king from getting any other escape square except for f7. And that's the only square that it can go to. So once the king takes a bishop on f7, white now comes in and simply wins the queen outright. And honestly, in blitz games, that might be the line that you see the most often. Because in blitz games, people tend to get a little bit more greedy for material. They see something undefended, easy for the taking, they go for it. And if that happens in your games and they take that pawn right away, you can rip into their position and force that king away from its own queen. And at that point, you can just take the queen outright and win the game. So it's an interesting trap with a lot of lines in it, and I enjoyed going over it and looking into it, and I hope you did too. So take care, and we'll see you next video.